Do you guys know Shirone? Canis asked, his tone probing. The trainees stirred with unrest. Why the sudden question? One of them spoke up. Another student who looked older frowned unhappily. A fourth grader dares to ask a teacher in an advanced class like me? It's Canis. A student stammered, his face ashen. Canis stepped forward, his voice steely. Answer me. Canis wondered, what kind of person is Shirone? He continued to think, the first thing I'll figure out after entering this school. Namely, the scores and personal relationships of the three of them, Eruki, Shirone, and Neid. A clicking sound echoed as Canis opened the drawer. He frowned. Their scores are really disappointing, Canis muttered. No, atrocious is more like it. Canis recalled, I thought the people who defeated me would be at the top of the class. He continued to think, but their scores are only slightly above average? However, Canis continued, reasoning, once I investigate their personal relationships. I was very surprised. Canis thought to himself that no one underestimated the three of them. They were considered competitors who could be surpassed at any moment. Unluck. Abundant light. Excellent stamina, Canis muttered. I'm sure I'll find him if I stick around Shirone. Canis gritted his teeth that Shirone. Canis secretly resolved that he wouldn't lose next time. He would defeat him and become as strong as his master. Arin sat beside him, smiling brightly as she replied, Yes, Canis. Arin added, Let's get stronger together. Canis and Arin are sitting on a park bench. Arin is just focused on eating a pastry, oblivious to her brother's aimless thoughts. Canis affectionately reminded his younger sister, Eat slowly. Looking down from above, the Magic Academy stood majestically under the starry night sky. Inside the vast hall, warm golden light illuminated hundreds of students sitting solemnly at long rows of tables. The space was enveloped in an atmosphere of solemn stillness. A student hurried between the rows of desks. At a table, Shirone placed a hand on Eruki's shoulder and asked with a worried expression, Are you okay? Eruki didn't look well. In another corner, a calico cat lay stretched out on a stone bench in front of a large owl statue on the school grounds. In front of the statue were 3 dainty cherry cupcakes. Legend has it that placing cherry cupcakes before an owl statue will help you get a degree, or something like that. Above the strange floating cubes, the night sky twinkled with starlight. This was the Supernatural Research Group's area. In her private room, Shirone was pondering something. Eruki and Neid were sitting around a round table, which was cluttered with books and papers. Eruki clutched his head, his face contorted in a grimace, and groaned, literature, logic, aptitude. He seemed to have a terrible headache. A month passed by in the blink of an eye, and the final exam was upon us. Dawn blazed over the grounds of the Academy of Magic. It was the day of the final exams. Shirone stood in the vast hallway, a hint of worry in his eyes. A group of students walked by, and one of them called out, Greetings, seniors. Another student looked confused and asked, Why are they called seniors? Someone else explained, Next year, you guys will only be in 4th grade. A pink-haired student cheered, That's right, that's right. A senior student approached, smiled, and said, Don't play dumb. I heard your dad's been studying really hard lately. Another person added, I have very high expectations for you all. The senior students responded with heartfelt gratitude. We will always be grateful for what you fought for on our behalf. Neid expressed his wish. It would be wonderful if we could be in the same class. Shirone bowed her head and said, Thank you. Thank you all so much. As soon as they left, Neid cried out in a panic, What should I do? I feel so much pressure bearing down on me. Shirone sighed, Failing just one subject means it's all over. Eruki stood before the exam room door, gazing at the sign that read, Exam Room with unwavering eyes. He told himself, Even if I've walked into a tiger's den, the simple thing to do is remain calm. His eyes gleamed with determination, as if he were fully prepared for any challenge. In other words, Eruki continued, his voice still calm but with a bit of emphasis, if you worry, it'll only make things more of a mess. He gestured towards the exam room, as if to make sure he wouldn't let emotions control his reason. Eruki looked up, his eyes scanning the words on the notice board. So, all 3 of us are in different exam rooms. He sighed, but immediately recovered his spirits. Still, we swore an oath under the stars, so we'll get to the end of this road together. Eruki raised his hand, his eyes full of faith in the future. Meanwhile, Shirone and Neid stood side by side, worry etched on both of their faces. Shirone tilted his head, his golden eyes showing a hint of doubt as he looked at Eruki. Isn't Eruki acting a bit strange today? He frowned slightly, as if trying to decipher the change in his close friend's demeanor. Neid scratched his head, a look of confusion evident on his face. Or maybe he ate something weird yesterday? His green eyes widened, as if trying to recall every detail that might be related to Eruki's change. Suddenly, a ding shattered the silence. Shirone and Neid jumped, their eyes wide with surprise. Damn it, the exam started. Shirone yelled, his voice full of panic. Neid was no different, his face pale with worry. Shirone panted, trying to calm himself. Okay, we'll meet again in 12 hours, he said, his voice still trembling. Neid nodded frantically, his eyes still full of panic. Eruki waved to his two friends from afar. Good luck, gentlemen, he called out, his voice full of encouragement. Yeah, the three of them shouted in unison, as if affirming their determination. The sky is clear blue, with white clouds drifting lazily by. The brilliant dawn light bathes the massive structures, creating a scene that is both majestic and mysterious. Eruki leaned back in the chair, arms crossed over her chest with a slightly smug look. It's all thanks to Eruki memorizing the entire exam. In a classroom, Shirone was diligently creating an answer key based on the textbook, while Neid was trying to write down the questions that Eruki was rattling off. Thanks to that, we can recreate all the questions and answers for all subjects. Currently, Neid groaned, nearly collapsing onto the table. Oh God, this is awful. I think I failed a few subjects. Shirone also complained incessantly, her face full of worry. Oh no, this is terrible. Everything will be over if we score below 80 on any test, Eruki reminded coldly, her tone uncompromising. Eruki continued, his expression unchanged. Don't lament over things that have passed. What's lost cannot be recovered. Let's finish grading first. Shirone was still a little bewildered, seemingly unable to accept the truth. I can't get used to it. From the window, the boxy buildings stacked on top of each other like giant Rubik's cubes appeared under the blue sky. Flocks of birds spread their wings and soared through the air. Awesome, I did it. Neid nearly jumped for joy, holding a piece of paper covered in numbers. The average is 82. Neid's eyes shone and his face beamed as he looked at the exam. I got over 80 points in all subjects. Neid excitedly shouted, confirmed 4th class. Yahoo! Neid asked Eruki, who was sitting blankly with concern. Eruki, what's wrong? Don't tell me. Eruki suddenly looked up at the sky and shouted with joy, Ga ha 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 ha. I got a total of 87 points in all subjects. Eruki shouted, Yees. Eruki recalled the difficult days. After memorizing and imitating the language teacher's way of speaking, Eruki's face lit up, and he continued, my language scores skyrocketed. Ah ha ha ha. Eruki closed her eyes, raised her hand to the sky, and said, I almost failed if I missed a question, but I did it. They rushed over, jumping up and down as they congratulated him. Yahoo! Congratulations, seriously. But what about Shirone? At that moment, Neid was startled. Ah! Clang. Neid stammered. She, Roan? Neid tried to cautiously ask the silent Shirone, don't tell me, how much did you get? Shirone replied sadly, my grade point average is 86 points. Neid and Eruki exclaimed in unison with regret, ooh. Eruki mused, a hint of admiration gleaming in the depths of her eyes. Unbelievable. Even as a commoner, he managed to score over 60 points in just one semester. Shirone was diligently writing. Eruki briefly looked up and asked, so what's wrong with that? Shirone looked a little embarrassed and scratched her head. I don't know either. Shirone suddenly exclaimed, huh? This problem? He stared intently at the problem in front of him, meticulously writing the answer. He mumbled, it's clearly a multiple choice question, right? Eruki continued to explain, that's right. This question is very easy to get tricked on. he frowned. And the solution is long, too. Shirone continued, trembling. The answer to the last question. Shirone shook her head. I don't remember. Neid tried to suggest, think carefully. I remember the answer being 1 1/2. Eruki asked worriedly, if you get that question wrong, what will your math score be? Immediately, a screen appeared before the three of them. 79 points. Neid and Eruki's eyes widened, unable to believe what they were seeing. Shirone, looking flustered, tried to recall, I think I chose answer 3. Shirone exclaimed, but I can't remember if 1 1/2 is 3 or 2. Eruki, clutching her head, lamented, all over one question. Eruki was worried. He thought that Shirone might have to repeat the 5th grade for another semester. Because you missed the question finding the result of the formula with XX and double X, the answer is 1/2. Eruki continued to lament. It really is a 2-point question. Immediately, Neid screamed in despair, I can't take it anymore. Neid suggested, let's go ask the teacher. Shirone agreed. Yeah, that sounds good. All three ran to find the teacher. Teach, they all shouted. In the Magic Academy's hallway, teacher Siena turned around. Siena frowned and asked, why are you all here? The 5th grade test ended yesterday. Shirone hurriedly explained. The last multiple choice question on the math, a test. What's the answer, miss? Siena looked puzzled. What's all the commotion about? Hurry, please, miss. We're in a big rush. Siena thought for a moment, then said slowly, if it's that question. Siena paused for a moment, then replied, according to her, the answer should be number 2. From behind, Shirone suddenly screamed in terror, the shriek shattering the silence. Immediately, Neid and Eruki hurriedly grabbed Shirone, their faces panicked. Neid anxiously pressed, Shirone, are you okay? Please calm down. Eruki quickly added, you received the adamantine body, right? Shirone's face was pale, and he stammered, why is it number 2? Neid hurriedly grabbed Eruki's hand, saying loudly, we're leaving, miss. He frowned, seemingly wanting to leave this place quickly. Siena stood in the distance, tilting her head slightly, and responded with an She looked up at the 3 students hurrying outside. Siena smiled and muttered to herself, goodness, kids always have so much energy. After that, the scene shifts to a sign that reads, teacher's office. In the office, Siena sat by the window, her eyes gazing into the distance. Sunlight streamed through the window pane, highlighting her purple hair. A few minutes later, Siena stood in front of her desk, a stack of documents in her hand. She looked up, as if talking to someone. Oh, right, they asked about the test. Siena continued flipping through the documents, her tone serious, and especially the last multiple-choice question. She frowned slightly, as if pondering something. Siena gave a soft "oh." Her eyes sparkled with interest as she looked at the paper in her hand. Immediately after, Shirone was being dragged away by Neid and Eruki, his face full of frustration as he said, the correct answer is number 3. A notification popped up confirming, Arin Shirone, confirmed to be promoted to the 4th grade. The scene shifts to a bustling city with classical architecture. A solemn inscription appeared, Bashuka, capital of the kingdom of Thormia. Next, we see the entrance to a magnificent academy, Heisen Academy of Swordsmanship. In an elaborately designed room, a girl with radiant blonde hair is standing in front of a student. She frowned, her tone slightly reproachful. You have to be honest, you didn't attend any lectures all semester, but you did very well in the practical sessions. All street fighting moves. The beautiful girl shook her head, seeming both helpless and a little surprised. Behind her were the longing gazes of the boys in her class. Rian said in a warm, deep voice, seemingly lost in thought, so, you think you'll do well? Immediately afterwards, another voice rang out, laced with suspicion. Ryan? The man called Rian looked up, his amber eyes narrowing slightly. He rested his chin on his hand, his gaze distant, as if pondering something.